you don't really know who the guy is until you start to spend some platonic time together. And if it's just date, hookup, date, hookup, you never really see the guy in his natural habitat. So this is why I say don't believe anything that happens on a date. It is not that he is a bad person. It's that he might not be your person, and that could easily be hidden until you start spending a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday morning together. Hope that makes sense. Hey, this is Marc Katz. Welcome back to the Love You podcast. We got a barn burner of an episode today, and yes, I said the words barn burner. The title is Don't Believe Anything That Happens on a Date. Before we get into it, we got some housekeeping today. Always want to remind you, leave us a positive review on Apple or Spotify, share it with a friend, say something. It makes a difference in the algorithm. The more people that we reach, the more people we can spread love to. Before I get into the content, I want to share something personal, and I'll be talking about it plenty over the next few weeks. This is unfortunately not the last you're going to hear of it. There's going to be some changes around here. The same way that if you're doing something in your life that's not working for you, I realized I was doing something in my life that's not working for me. In short, I kind of realized I was becoming more of a content creator than a dating coach, running around from platform to platform, going on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and Substack, and just kind of hamster on a wheel. And I realized something was missing from my life, and that was talking to people. The most valuable thing that I can do, and the most valuable thing I have, is my ability to connect with human beings and help guide them towards better outcomes in their love life. And I decided I was doing a lot less of it than I wanted to. And so over coming weeks, you're going to see some changes. I'm going to share more, but it's something I've really gotten in touch with. After going to my 30th college reunion, after going to my Love You retreat, I realized I'm an extrovert. I knew I was an extrovert, but how important connections with other people are. And so if you listen to this podcast and it makes you think, or it inspires you, or gives you hope, or whatever it is, I want to talk to you. Right? I don't want to just project to you and be the guy who gives advice on the internet. I really want to be able to help you. And so I'm going to be doing a lot more personal help, a lot more one-on-one coaching, a lot more of what makes me happy, rather than chasing likes and clicks on every single platform. So if you are inspired, you could reach out to me at the end of this episode. I'll give you a URL to click, and you can book a time to talk to me. I'm trying to keep it really simple instead of big complicated things that I've been doing for many years. So probably didn't need to hear all that, but it's really what's burning inside of me. And if it's burning inside of me, I got to share it with you, because there's, 50,000 people a month who listen to this. So we should probably let them know what's going on with this podcast. And as things change around here, hopefully I'll even be doing more podcasts, and I'll tell you more about that as time passes. So let's get to the point. Don't believe anything that happens on a date. I've got a client. We'll call her Gloria. It's not her name, but that's what we'll call her. And Gloria is in her early 60s. She was married for a really long time, doesn't have that much experience dating, but she's a great person. She's a great student. She's actually really easy to help. And so I've just had a great joy working with her. And so even though she doesn't have much experience dating, she's doing it Love You style, much more personal attention, slowing things down rather than swiping, texting, sleeping with guys. And so she's having great results. She's already had a boyfriend and dumped the boyfriend, and now she has a whole bunch of other decent guys courting her. And so she was telling me this story, which I figured I would share with you because it illustrates a really important concept. This guy who she was saying was doing everything right during the early phases of dating. His texting was on point. He would call to set up the date. He would follow up after the date. He would plan the date. All the things that women cherish, most guys don't do. This guy was doing all of it. A++. He was smooth and he was high energy, and she really enjoyed his company on these dates. Picking up the check, right? Kiss goodnight. So dude is rocking it. It wasn't until she spent the night with him. I've got no problem with spending the night with him. It wasn't until she slept over and had breakfast with him the next morning that she discovered something. Who this man on a date is completely different than who he is in real life. She hadn't seen him in real life. All she had done was go on a series of dinner dates for 2-3 hours at a pop, and the guy knew how to perform. right? He's like a salesman, so he knew what he was doing. But Sunday morning at his house, she saw like a different side of him. And he was kind of nervous and he was kind of fussy and he was a little closed off. He wasn't that same sort of warm, magnanimous guy that she had gotten to know. And it was enough that it turned her off entirely. Right? They're like that was the end of the line was, oh, I liked how he was on the date. I didn't like who he was in real life. So this brings us to the larger point. Dating, right? Especially, dates, right? Not just all of dating that leads to marriage, but dates themselves are performative. Right? Dates are performative. And it is like a job interview. You are putting your best self out there. And guys who are experienced know how to put on a good show. Right? They're not always the best guys, but they know how to put on a good show. Why? Because they've done it hundreds of times before. So it's really easy. Sometimes we give a lot of points to the guy who's good at dating. He calls, he plans, he pays, that kind of thing. We give a lot of points for that, and that's good dating technique. But it doesn't necessarily mean he's a good guy at all. It just means he knows the game. On the other hand, there's really inexperienced guys, perfectly nice guys who were married for 25 years and haven't been on a date with anybody since. You think they're going to be smooth at dating? Do you think they're going to know exactly what to do? Chances are they're going to be a little less confident, and a little bit more awkward, and you're going to judge them for that. You're a human being. I'm not judging you for judging them for not being good at dating, but let's be clear. If dating is a performance, especially those first, second, third dates, who's going to be the best performers? The guys who've been on a million dates, might be players, might be avoidance, we don't know. I was one of them, so I can speak for that type. And so we need to look at this as always through two lenses. It's really nice when a guy's good at dating. Just because a guy is not good at dating doesn't mean he's a bad guy. There's an author named Jillian Strauss. Years ago, she wrote a book called Unhooked Generation. And I remember reading on her blog. It stuck with me for all these years. She said, a man's ability to court says nothing about his ability to be a good husband. But we need to judge guys on something. So what are we doing? We're judging them on the performance. And that is like judging someone on a resume and a job interview. Right? Does that mean they're going to be able to do the job, come in early, stay late, handle, team meetings and conflict at the office? No, it just means they've got a good resume and they ace the interview because they're charming. So again, I want you to pay attention to this because we all tend to reward first impressions and people who are good at first impressions. And I'm not saying that they don't matter. I'm saying that they tend to outweigh everything else. There's a love you saying, something I say in my coaching and courses all the time. You can't really believe what guys say on a date. And it's not that they are inveterate liars. That's too far. It's that they're in the moment. Their job is to get the job. Their job is to show you why they're good enough for you, why you should invest time in them, why you should trust them, why you should sleep with them. As they're saying it, they're interviewing for the job. That's why I say you're the CEO and they're interviewing for the job. So they're often in the moment. A guy might say, oh, I really want to get married. And he might say it to you, but that doesn't mean he wants to get married in the same time frame you want to get married. And it doesn't mean he wants to marry you. It just means in some far off land. So that's the thing is we take what happens on dates too literally, where guys, I think, take it more figuratively. It's part of the performative dance to build trust, to act on attraction, to get you to like them, right? And they'll sort of sort the rest out later. That's why we say men look for sex and find love. They ultimately might want love, but in this moment, they're just trying to get the job. They're just trying to demonstrate to you why they're worthy of you. Because of this, because you can't believe anything a guy says on a date, not once again because he's lying, he's making up, oh, I'm really a doctor. It's not that kind of lying. It's just very much of the moment. This is why we go slower in dating. This is what, I haven't quite coined the phrase yet, but, Generation X dating, old school dating, whatever we're going to call it, this is where it comes into play. This is why we spend a little bit more time before we meet him in person. This is why we spend a little bit more time before we have sex. This is why we spend a little bit more time before we call him a boyfriend and take down our profile. Because from the original story with Gloria, you don't really know who the guy is until you start to spend some platonic time together. And if it's just date, hook up, date, date, hookup, you'd never really see the guy in his natural habitat. So this is why I say don't believe anything that happens on a date. It is not that he is a bad person. It's that he might not be your person, and that could easily be hidden until you start spending a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday morning together. Hope that makes sense. My name is Marc Katz. Stick with me and I'll show you how to do some old school dating in a way that's more effective in this largely swiping, texting, disorienting, disconnected world. You deserve to have better experiences, more personal experiences with men. And I am committed to doing that for you. So make sure if you enjoyed this podcast that you share it with a friend. Subscribe, Apple, Spotify, leave us a positive review. And if you want help finding a quality man, setting healthy boundaries, knowing how to navigate online dating, and it all seems so overwhelming and there's so many voices out there, let's do what I said I wanted to do. Let's talk. Go to evanmarckatz.com/now. Book a time with me. See how I could help you. Sound like a plan? I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye-bye.